Alright, okay, everybody, let's just calm down for a second. Simon Miller is on holiday, and the last time I checked, you can't up the downs for AEW Dynamite when you're on holiday. So instead, you've got me, your favourite bald guy's second favourite bald guy, and this was a good-ass show, so what I want you to do is sit down, take a load off, put your feet up, pour yourself a chamomile tea, do a yoga, do whatever the hell it is you do to relax, and I'm just going to tell you all about this lovely little wrestling show. I think it's safe to say that there was maybe just a little bit of concern heading into last night's show after last week's, and it's not that last week's was bad per se, it just, there wasn't a whole lot of sizzle on that steak. It was missing the special sauce to really take it over the edge. But if you look at what was announced for this show, we got Cody taking 10 lashings, we got an 8-man tag with the Elite against all kinds of bastards, we got Yuka Sakazaki returning to the ring, we got Jon Moxley versus Ortiz. That's a promising lineup, so let's see how it turned out. Did this show swoop through the ocean like the Jericho Cruise, or did it do a Titanic? I'm gonna tell you all about it. I'm Andy, let's do the thing, let's up the downs. So the first thing on this show was Jon Moxley versus Ortiz, and the interesting thing about this is that it was actually Ortiz's first singles match in almost 4 years, believe it or not. His last one was in August 2016. That's a long time ago, but it was also a logical continuation of the Moxley Inner Circle feud. Moxley beat Sammy Guevara a few weeks ago, now he's facing another one of Jericho's little fellas, one of his little mates, one of his little stable buddies. So it all makes sense, and you know what? For a guy who hasn't wrestled a singles match in 4 years, Ortiz looked pretty damn great here. It wasn't too long, it was brisk, it was fast-paced, it didn't overstay its welcome, and we got some shenanigans as well, but good, effective shenanigans. We had Santana at ringside making his presence felt, and we had Jericho on commentary with Jake Hager, almost called him Wardlow there, that would have been weird, with Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara watching his back, and Jericho was his usual good, complimentary, entertaining self on commentary, and at one point, he called Ortiz a human cigarette machine with a head on top. I don't really know what that means, but it sounded pretty cool, so bleh. It was a fun match, it's well worth seeking out, and it's definitely worth your time. And in the end, old Santana, well, he just got involved one time too many. Moxley binned him off the apron, Ortiz got distracted, he ate the paradigm shift, and he lost. But I think the most important thing to talk about coming out of this is the post-match angle. There was a stare down, Jericho in the commentary booth, Moxley in the ring, and Moxley, of course, he's got that eye patch, he's lost his sight temporarily after the Inner Circle's assault, after they stabbed him in the eye. So what does he do? He pulls out his car keys, the same car keys that Jericho gave him. He takes Santana, and he goes eye for an eye. He stabs him right in the peeper. He flees the ring before the Inner Circle can get hold of him, and the whole thing was super effective. It was over as hell as well. Moxley is dangerous, he's electric, he's exciting. This feud rules. I mean, it's a pretty easy up, right? Following on from this was something that wasn't as severe, but still pretty damn important. It was the Best Friends, it was SoCal Uncensored, it was what was effectively a tag team title eliminator. Both of these teams have won matches lately, they were looking to build a nice little streak and hopefully earn the right to face Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Even though it wasn't billed specifically as a contendership match. And these are two veteran teams, they're solid, they're established, they're charismatic as hell, they're fun to watch. It's kind of hard to imagine a scenario in which these guys have a bad match together, and this thing was certainly very good. Not quite as dynamic and as electric as the opener, but still bags of fun. Really solid, fast-paced, brisk, entertaining tag action, the kind of which you really expect from this division. And a nice little touch from JR here. I know people like to bag on AEW, and rightly so, for their enforcement of their tag rules. Sometimes it gets a bit chaotic, but at one point here, there was a little double team going down. One man was in the ring when maybe, under conventional rules, he shouldn't have been, but JR calmly explained, here in AEW, you have 10 seconds to get out of the ring after you've been tagged. During that time, you can do a double team. That's very minor. It's very small. But it really helps kind of mitigate the concerns surrounding the rules. And I'd be remiss not to mention the absolute best moment in this whole goddamn match. Everyone's wiped out on the outside. There've been dives, there've been big moves, all kinds of stuff. Everyone is down on the ground. Who's there? Orange Cassidy. He waltzes up and he just takes a little lie down so he can be with his mates. Orange Cassidy doing Orange Cassidy things is always great in my book. I love the guy. He's super entertaining. I get why people aren't that into him, but hey man, I'm the one making the goddamn video this week. So, you know what? The whole package, SCU picking up the win, advancing now as we know to challenge Paige, and I almost said Jericho there, Paige and Omega next week. It's good stuff. It's an up. Everything about this was positive. Nothing to complain about. So just when the show was really rolling, we're sitting on 2 ups at the moment. Everything up to this point had been effective, fun, over, and indeed good. Well, the Dark Order showed up next, didn't they? And this was something. So, I guess technically it wasn't laid out all that poorly, and the idea certainly made sense logically. It's just kind of hard to take these guys seriously as a threat. So, let me run through it. The SCU and Best Friends, they've just had a match, they're tired, blah, blah, blah. Out come the Dark Order. Dark Order have been targeting Christopher Daniels lately, and last week they said, we're going to target your family, we're going to target your brothers and your friends in SCU. Don't care who we're going to take out first, we're just going to take them out. So they did. It was Grayson, it was a Creeper, it was John Silver, it was Alex Reynolds. They took everyone down. Evil Uno comes out, he's controlling traffic, he's in a suit. Christopher Daniels comes out to save his boys. The Dark Order back off. Daniels is furious. He kind of wants a fight, I guess. He's probably not going to join. And then the thing just kind of ran its course. It ended there. No confrontation between Daniels and the Dark Order. The Dark Order still want to recruit him. Like I say, in terms of the storyline, this does all make sense, but the Dark Order at this stage, they just feel so undermined. They had that angle on December 18th, the universally maligned angle that went over really poorly on the next Dynamite. They just got beaten up by everyone. It's not really clicking. It's not working. They don't feel imposing. They don't feel threatening. They've got these cool vignettes on the show, but the physical activity, it's just not delivering, man. It's just not getting over. For that, sorry boys, I have to give it a down. So after that, what I'm going to do here is merge technically 2 different segments into one single up. That would take us to 3 ups and 1 down if you're counting along at home, although you kind of have them down here, so I guess you don't need to. Sorry, I'm kind of new at this. I'm talking about the extra effort that AEW put into hyping Cody, taking 10 lashings from MJF. This was really appreciated. We had one segment that came immediately after the Dark Order stuff. It was a little highlights package and MJF cutting a promo. He referenced the walk behind her line from an old Dusty Rhodes promo. Great stuff. He also said that Cody wasn't going to make it to 10 lashings. Then we had a little interview with Taz on the end of that, and he put over the idea that this is just how desperate Cody is. He's willing to go to these lengths. He's going to take the lashings. He's going to be humiliated, and then he's going to kill MJF. And later in the night, a really somber, effective promo from Dustin Rhodes, who said, MJF, he's going to find out that my little brother is a lot tougher than he thinks. This was, you know, simple, effective pro wrestling storytelling. Good stuff all around. Really appreciate the little bit of extra seasoning they put onto the segment with these hype things. And you know what? They didn't even need to do this, right? I mean, it was already a hyped segment, but they went out of their way. They took 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, and they really took it up to another level. That's an up. It's a really obvious up. It's just good work. Anyway, after all that, we got the in-ring return to AEW of Yuka Sakazaki. She's been away for a while, and that's great, because she's great, and I really like watching her work. But Jim Ross. I'm really sorry. I know that ragging on Jim Ross for getting people's names wrong is maybe a little bit played out, but it happens every single week. And when Yuka came out, he said to Excalibur, please tell me about Yuka Sakazaki. Look, it's Jim Ross. He's a sacred cow. He's an announcing legend. He's probably the best to ever do it. Can't keep getting things like this wrong every week. I'm sorry. It's a down. Anyway, on to the match itself. Britt Baker, Yuka Sakazaki, really good stuff. It was surprisingly short, came in at only 3.5 minutes, but you know what? AEW shows, maybe they do need a bit more variety when it comes to match lengths. We see lots of people getting 10, 15 minutes on every single show, and that's good. People are getting a chance to show off, they're getting a chance to impress, but you want a little bit of variety, you want a change of pace, you don't want to watch necessarily 5, 10 to 15 minute matches in a row. You want to change things up, and this was really effective. It was fun. Sakazaki is so infectious. Her personality really comes across in her work. And Baker played the heel really well. She was really convincing. She had the crowd booing her all the way through it. Sakazaki had a wonderful spot with a splash to the outside, the magical girl splash, I believe it's called, and in the end she picked up a surprising victory, a crucifix pin on Baker for the 1-2-3. But I think the post-match was even more effective. It was a beatdown by Baker. She got the ring bell, she clocked Sakazaki with it. Aubrey, being the tremendous referee that she is, she took the bell away. It's like, no, no, no. But Baker wasn't finished. She made Yuka Sakazaki literally bite the bottom rope. She stomped down. When she pulled away, when Sakazaki pulled away, her mouth was bleeding. She pulled out a tooth from the back of her head. This was a night of baby faces really suffering. This was the first big example of that. We'll get to Cody later on. But it was really effective. They're doing a really good job. The past couple of weeks for Britt Baker have been supremely effective, and Sakazaki is so sympathetic, it's impossible not to feel sorry for her. It's another up. It was a really another effective segment. This show was really good, guys. I mean, yeah. And following that was probably the easiest thing on the whole card to review because, frankly, the Elite, we had the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Butcher, the Blade and the Lucha Brothers. It was exactly what you think it was. It was bloody tremendous. This match was like drinking 5 Monster Energy drinks, snorting a line of instant coffee, licking a battery, punching yourself in the face, and DDTing a squirrel. It was mental. That isn't to say there weren't a few slow spots here and there. Early on, for example, the Elite team did a really good job of isolating the Blade, who worked much of the match for his team. But, you know, you kind of want GIF stuff when you're watching a match like this, don't you? Look at the people involved, look at the promotion it's in. You want flippy-dippy doodads, you want all action, you want high octane, you want adrenaline, and man, they delivered that in spades. Jim Ross was bang on the money when he said this match was like the NBA All-Star game. It was a bunch of dudes throwing up threes, but not really playing a whole lot of defense. But that being said, as fun as these spots were, and as enthralling as I found the action, the character work was what really set it apart. Hangman Page, we all know what's going on with him at the Elite, and he was a right sulk here. He was a right proper grump on the apron. He had his boo-boo face on while those other guys were having fun. They were doing triple teams together. They were taunting. He's on the outside. He's having none of it. And to make matters worse, the only person he willingly tagged in the whole match, friendly at least, was Kenny. He wouldn't tag the Bucks. At one point, he blind tagged himself in, and this refusal to tag the Bucks actually led to the finish. The Elite had it won. It was wrapped up. If only Page had just tagged in a young Buck, they'd have won. They'd have defeated. They'd have vanquished the evildoers. But no, because Page chose not to do this, he ended up getting battered by Pentagon, who pinned him. He cost his team the win. And that's a really nice little twist on this ongoing storyline. So, in conclusion, the match was great. The action was great. The crowd were buzzing. You know, the wrestlers performed really well. It's an up. And you know what? Because I'm feeling generous, I'm going to throw another up on this stuff as well, specifically for the Page stuff. It's just really good. Later on in the show, we had a backstage segment. Page is drinking a beer, he's ready to get interviewed, but in walk the Bucks. They're raging. What the hell was that? They say we had the goddamn match won. Matt Jackson takes his beer, taps his tag title, and says, hey man, you're not careful, you don't buck up, you're going to lose those belts soon enough. And in a wonderful moment of physical comedy, Page, from out of nowhere, just procures this massive pitcher of beer and takes a swig because he's a drunk guy who doesn't give a damn anymore. That's good. It's an up. We've got 6 ups. This is a nice show. So from there, we go from the good to the, unfortunately, slightly less good. Kip Sabian versus Joey Janella. Now, I'm not going to go in too hard on the work. The work was pretty decent, right? Kip Sabian plays a pretty convincing heel. There's an inbuilt storyline there with Joey Janella's ex, Penelope Ford. She's now with Sabian. Last week we had that hilarious kiss spot. There's some good stuff to play on here, but the match, well, it just didn't quite deliver. It was fine. It was okay. It was acceptable. It was decent. It had a good dynamic. But when things don't get over with the live crowd in the building, the people you're trying to serve, it's very hard for me to stand here and go, yeah, that should be an up, because your point as an entertainer is to engage your audience. And for long periods of this, I don't feel quite like that goal was achieved. And on top of this, we had a really sloppy moment. At one point, Janella's on the outside. The referee is in the ring, standing right over him, and Penelope Ford lays her hands on Janella's head, bashes him into the ring steps, which should be an instant disqualification. She's put her hands on this fella, her ex, Joey Janella, in front of the referee, who did nothing about it. a shame it went this way, because I was really hoping these two would have an absolute banger match to continue their feud, but it just didn't pan out. And in the end, we got a nice little handful of ties roll-up for Sabian. He wins. Things move on. We're probably getting another match, but unfortunately, I've got to give this one a down. Cut backstage to the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho grabs the microphone away from Alex Marvez and he says, "Hey, what kind of piece of crap takes a spike and drives it into another man's eye?" Talking, of course, about what happened earlier on. Further proof Chris Jericho is just the best. But even better in this segment was Santana. Santana cutting a blistering, 30-second promo out of nowhere. This guy was so intense. He was like as believable as an Eddie Kingston. And if you're familiar with his work, you know that that's the highest praise imaginable. He said that Jon Moxley had poured gasoline onto the fire after the worst month of his life. And next week, it's going to be an eye for an eye. Now, I have no idea what the hell an eye for an eye match is. Maybe they have spoons and they gotta scoop it out like gumballs or something. Either way, Santana's delivery here was so good. In such a short space of time, he had very little to work with, but he knocked it out of the park. Up. Which brings us finally to the lashings. And I think if you're going to get the most out of this segment, it has proved divisive, but I think if you're going to get the most out of it, you really just have to sit back, let the thing happen, let the painter paint, and let yourself get worked. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you think you're above getting worked, what's the point of watching pro wrestling? The tone of this segment was perfect. It was MJF out first with Wardlow. He talks a little smack, Cody comes out, and as just one final little kick in the balls, MJF goes, "Well, my belt is far too expensive to whip you with. Give me yours." That was such a nice little touch to really amp it up. And from there, of course, he went in, he tried to lash Cody from behind, but he pulled out at the last minute just to mess with him because he's a complete, utter scumbag. He's a vile human being. And then he starts dishing out the lashes, and one by one, slowly, the locker room kind of starts pouring out. Everyone is concerned. Everyone wants to see what's going on. So it starts with guys like the Butcher and the Blade, Kip Sabian, Sammy Guevara. These guys are curious. The villains are curious. But then baby faces start joining them as well. And about halfway through, we get Dustin Rhodes, who cut this, somber as hell promo earlier on. He said, "My brother's got this." But he's so horrified by what he's seen, he gets in the ring, he gets in MJF's face, and he says, "No, that's enough, man. I'll take the rest of the lashings for my brother." But it doesn't go that way. I'm sorry, Dustin, that's not how it works. And he just kind of has to go back outside or get killed by Wardlow and watch his brother take all this punishment. And man, it's really effective, emotional pro wrestling storytelling. So the lashings continue. Cody's back is getting redder and redder. The Young Bucks, they come out and they try to G their man up. They say, "Come on, Cody, man, let's get through this. Let's do it." Wardlow takes the belt, and Wardlow is a big, beefy boy. So to add a little bit of extra juice to that upcoming cage match, he throws every pound of weight and force he has into one brutal belt shot, the worst of the lot of them. And Cody's just wincing in pain. Now, admittedly, this probably hurt like hell, right? I mean, I can't imagine taking a belt to your exposed back 10 times is a lot of fun. But Cody did such a good job selling this whole thing. He made it look like the most painful thing in the world. It might as well have been a cat of nine tails, a rat of nine, whatever it's called, the hurty thing, and not just a belt. Cody's just so sympathetic, man, and he did a sterling job here. Cody's almost there. There's one more to come, and out comes Brandy, supporting her husband on TV for the first time in months. She says, "Come on, one more. You're gonna get through this. You're gonna get through this." And then the lashing comes. Cody goes down again. It's over. He's taken 10 lashings from MJF's belt. He has absorbed ritual humiliation from the worst man alive. And the building is really, really heavy. The atmosphere you could cut with a chainsaw. The heroes flood the ring. They're surrounding their fallen brother. They're concerned. They're worried. MJF doesn't like this, because of course he doesn't. He waits for Cody to get up on his own 2 feet, and he kicks him in the bollocks from behind. A low blow, he flees the ring, the crowd are fuming. MJF and Wardlow escape through the crowd. Everyone is just emotionally drained by what we've been through. And that my friends, is perfect pro wrestling theater. Honestly, if I could, I would give this 12 ups. This was tremendous. It was the most effective, the most emotional, the most gut-wrenching segment that AEW has ever done. It was really tremendous stuff, and to boot, it made Cody and MJF both feel like major deals. I loved this. If you didn't, fair enough. It's not my job to stand here and tell you what to think, but I would hope that the sentiment is shared. I would hope that the so-called divisive reaction we've heard about isn't as widespread as was spoken about at the time this went down, because I just love this thing. It's as easy an up as you'll ever get from me. And thus we arrive at the end of Dynamite. I've got 8 ups and 3 downs, but, you know, looking at them, the downs are pretty nitpicky, pretty minor, not all that big a deal. On the whole, I thought this was a really great show. Very effective, very buzzworthy, lots of fun stuff, lots of emotional stuff, lots of effective storytelling across the board. And I haven't even mentioned that in 3 weeks we're getting Pac versus Omega in a goddamn Iron Man match. Hey, you know what? Let's up that total to 9, man. Because that segment with Nyla Rose powerbombing Riho and Pac cutting a promo, that was really good as well. 9 ups, 3 downs, great goddamn show. But as always, I want to know what you think. Let's talk about this thing down in the comments section. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what you thought they could have done better, and what they knocked out of the park. Once you've done that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Once you've done that, follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Then follow me at Andy H. Murray, or just at me and tell me how much you miss Simon, because I miss him as well. Big bald legend. Goodbye.